And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Starting off with Tuesday morning's flying weather graphic. IFR here, southern Bering Sea and the Aleutians into the Alaska Peninsula. Then some IFR here along the Alaska Range, all the way up into the upper Tanana Valley there, and then down over the northeastern Copper River Basin, but improving to the south, just with some VFR along the coast and Prince William Sound. Southeast coast here, IFR with a widespread area of marginal VFR that extends right off into the Gulf of Alaska. For the afternoon, things continue to improve. Good VFR here up north and out to the west there, right into Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island. Improving here slowly, but still an upper level trough, keeping moisture in for some VFR or some IFR for the eastern Alaska Range down across the Wrangell Mountains, but staying VFR here, Prince William Sound, and for the Cook Inlet area down to Kenai Peninsula. IFR over toward the border in the Panhandle. And out west, pretty good conditions here over the northern Bering Sea. A lot of VFR there, some marginal VFR through the Bering Strait. And IFR here with that elongated system out over the southern Bering Sea and into the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and then the Pribilof Islands right on the edge of the marginal VFR there. And for the morning hours Wednesday, marginal VFR here, northwest coast, or the western Arctic coast. Just a small area of IFR possible there for the Kivalina up to Point Hope area, marginal VFR into the Bering Strait, but a lot of VFR over the interior from the Arctic coast here right on down to Kodiak Island, Prince William Sound, northern Bering Sea, VFR. And not much change for the southeast coast there. Still IFR over toward the border with marginal VFR elsewhere. And for the afternoon, that pretty much holds. A little bit of improvement showing up here. The IFR zone getting a little bit thinner and some VFR showing up over the northern areas. Good VFR over mainland Alaska with some marginal VFR spreading into the western Brooks Range, western North Slope, and of course the Arctic coast, extending down to the northern Seward Peninsula. Northern Bering Sea VFR right along that extends into the southeastern Bering Sea there, all the way down across Bristol Bay, and marginal VFR for just about all of the Aleutian chain. And for passes, starting up in the Brooks Range and the Tuvakanatigan, looking good tomorrow, VFR flying there. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, starting out marginal, but conditions improve throughout the day, becoming VFR at some point in the daytime tomorrow, and improving also for rainy but lower conditions, IFR to start, and then marginal VFR for the afternoon. Windy, same forecast, IFR improving to marginal VFR, and that also holds for Isabel as well. IFR improving to marginal VFR, and Mentasta likely IFR throughout the day. And over toward Tanina, marginal VFR seeing some improvement through the afternoon. And Portage, though, VFR back to marginal for Chilkoot and White. And the freezing levels here, 2,000 feet, now down along the south coast of the Panhandle, otherwise south now of Kodiak Island. A little bit warmer out over the Aleutians here, 6,000 feet here over the southeastern Bering Sea from about Adak in toward Cold Bay. And for the icing chart here, we've got quite a swath of possible significant icing here across the southern Bering Sea, Shimei and Attu into Adak and Atka eastward to the Alaska Peninsula there of the isolated moderate possible anywhere in this zone tomorrow. Another area here over the southeast coast could be some mixed icing there that extends up into the eastern interior and southeast interior of the state. And looking at the jet stream, upper level low there coming slowly southward here across the eastern interior areas. Northwest winds 80 to 90 knots, pick up to about 100 knots as they blow across the Kenai Peninsula into the Gulf, and then back down to 85 knots for the Panhandle. Ridging here right through this area, and to the south of that we've got low there south of the east central Aleutians. So southeast winds here anywhere from 60 to 70 knots cutting across the southern Bering Sea as well as eastern Aleutians. 3,000 foot winds. Again, low pressure here over the Aleutians, higher pressure to the north. Southeast winds 45 to 65 knots or 40 to 65 knots, 40 knots for the eastern Aleutians. Then back around to the north-northwest up to 45 knots here across the lower Yukon River Valley and the Delta there. Light to the east in the interior. And those strong winds coming down out of the northwest across northern Kodiak Island, Kamishak Bay, southern Cook Inlet areas. And for 3,000 feet, much lighter winds at this elevation. A little bit of an area here of northeast at 35 knots there in the north central interior areas. Otherwise, not bad for the southeast coast. Out west, that's where all the wind is. Westerlies, 35 to 45 knots for the Aleutians. 50-knot southeast winds here right along the Alaska Peninsula, increased to about 70 knots there out toward the Pribilof Islands. Turbulence-wise, look for a considerable moderate turbulence, pretty possible here for the western Alaska Peninsula, on out across the eastern Aleutians, on up to the Pribilofs, isolated moderate there, as well as Adak and Atka, and possibly here in the central interior, just along and south of the central Yukon River, and maybe the eastern Arctic coast.